Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ba'd. So we're we have started this a couple of weeks ago. It's called Kitabu Tasfiyatul Qulubi, the book of the purification of the heart. The Imam is the Imam al-Dhammar, the Imam Yahya ibn Hamza al-Dhammar, who passed away in the 8th century. He has summarized Ihya Ulumuddin of Imam al-Ghazali. So inshallah we'll continue. Last time we spoke about the different parts of the self, an-nafsu, wal-ruh, al-qalb. What was it? What else did we speak about? Al-aql. And there was another, and Imam Sheikh Yusri Gaber has also, many scholars have spoken about this in detail. And what we are doing right now is going back to Al-Qalb, the heart, and we are trying to see what are the things that that make up the mystery of the heart. The mysteries of the heart, and they said that these words are synonymous sometimes. And nafsu, wal ruh, wal qalb, and even al aql. Sometimes they're synonymous, but they are all different. For instance, al ruh is something which is the soul. We taste it, we know about it, but we can't touch it, and it's part of us. But al qalb, wal nafs, they are more physical. Al-Qalb has two. We saw that it has two different aspects. One of it is a spiritual one. It has feelings and so on, and the other one is an organ. It's a piece of meat. And then there is a that. A that is your physical self. So your physical self is also very interesting. We know it's us. We lived through this time. We have waited all this time, and we're now alive, and we see each other, and then soon we will leave. Kullu nafsin da'iqatul maut. It will leave. This nafs will die, but ar-ruh will remain. So and also we know of ourselves. We know about ourselves through ar-ruh. For instance, you could be in a coma. May Allah protect us. And they remove. I'll make it sound easy. They remove a tooth. That's part of your body, right? And it did not remove anything from yourself. You remain who you are, right? They can remove an organ, okay, but you still are yourself and your ruh. So anyway, we're going back, and we spoken about the al-qalb. So we're back to al-qalb. Imam al-Ghazali also has a book called Muraqabatul Qulub, which I love very much. Muraqabatul al-Qulub. Can you hear the birds? Or I don't know how to keep them quiet. Anyway, so muraqabatul qulub is to be.
It's actually pleasant background.
All right, good. So it's to be not conscious about, but to overlook the heart. Muraqabatul qulub. To always be conscientious about the state and the affairs and the activities of the heart. So here it's back again. So we spoke about those different things, al-qalb, al-ruh, and so on. But now we want to see madakhil al-shaitan ila al-qulub. How does the shaitan comes to the heart? So we have we've spoken about something which I've called the windows or the pores. Sometimes there's no entrance, there's no level of entry for the shaitan, but there are ways for the shaitan to come in, and the scholars, not just Sheikh Dhammar here, is saying that we have to know this. It's wajib on us. It's fardu ayn. It's wajib on us, every single one of us, to be knowledgeable, to understand how shaitan can penetrate to our hearts, and to know that. So we learn. How do we learn about that? Is we have to understand that our heart is a very powerful fortress, very high, but there are ways and means for shaitan to enter even that fortress. So we've spoken about that was the first thing that we did, and then what we did last week is we jumped immediately to something very interesting. I hope I'll remember where we were. Wow. We'll find it, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yeah, we'll get there. Last time we jumped into another level, and it was very interesting. Yeah, well, we'll reach it. We will reach it. It's just behind here, inshallah. Bidnillah ta'ala. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So, what these things, these means to enter the heart by the shaitan, like I said, it's an obligation. And Imam al-Ghazali breaks it down to 40 of them, which he called al-muhlikat, and then he gives us a solution of how to protect ourselves from them, and he called them al-munjiyat. Other scholars have broken it down to further. Even Imam Ghazali breaks it down further than 40, but he keeps it under 40 chapters. And Imam al-Manawi, I read once that he quotes about 1,500. So they are all a downshoot of these 40. Here he breaks them down into 10. But he also quotes these different means to penetrate into the heart. He also relates them to others, so it could be like 20 here. You will see, inshallah. By the way, forgive me, very little preparation, but we'll go through it and it'll become very easy to grasp, inshallah. So these 10 means of the shaitan to penetrate. The first one is al-hasadu wal-hirs. Al-hasadu wal-hirs. Al-hasad is to be... just trying to see. Okay. Al-hasad is envy, jealousy. Wal-hirs is to be insisting on doing something like, you make up your mind and you don't care about anything else. That's all I want to do, and I'm going to do it. End of story. And so, al-hirs, so it says here, فَمَنْ حَصَلَ فِي هَاتَانِ الْخِصْلَتَانِ عُمِيَ وَصُمَّ. So anyone who happens to be infected with these two attributes, he becomes blind and summa, عُمِيَ وَصُمَّ, and he doesn't speak, doesn't hear. وَهُمَا مِنْ أَعْظَمِ مَدَاخِلِ الشَّيْطَانِ وَأَكْبَرُ وَسَائِلِهِ. And it's probably the biggest windows for the shaitan to penetrate into your heart. And we know that shaitan, when he was told to prostrate to Adam, he says, no, I am better than him. You've created him from soil, and I am from fire, and so on. So he felt that he was better. So this is the hasad. Is this hasad or is this arrogance? So this is different. Okay, I apologize. So al-hasad is to have envy, to want what the other person wants, and to truly run after it. And he quotes here a story. I'll go through it, and then there is a lesson right at the end. وقد روي أن نوحا عليه السلام ركب البحر وحمل في السفينة من كل زوجين اثنين and so on. وقال له نوح أصيب قلوب صحابك فتكون قلوبهم معي وأبدانهم معك. So he said that when Nuh went on the sea and everyone boarded with him, he found shaitan, and then he told him, what brought you in? He says, I have come here to make sure that they're with you with their bodies, but their hearts are with me. دخلت لأصيب قلوبهم وأصحابك فتكون قلوبهم معي وأبدانهم معك. Their hearts are with me, but their bodies, they can be with you, no problem. فقال نوح, he told him, get out, O enemy of Allah, for you are distanced and disgraced. So Iblis mentioned a number of things that he will be using to do that. And at the end, I don't want to make it too long. فقال, he says, but there are two things. He mentioned five, but then there are two things. فقال هما, two things. لا تكذب هما اللتان لا تكذبان هما اللتان لا تخلفان بهما. The worst thing, the things that I can destroy a person or reach his heart, الحرص والحسد. فبالحسد لعنت وجعلت الشيطان رجيم. He says, because of envy, yes, he envied shaitan, he envied Adam alayhi salam as well. So because of envy, I have been rejected, لعنت, لعنة, and I have been made shaitanan rajiman. I have been cursed and have been distanced as a cursed shaitan. وبالحرص أصبت أصبت حاجتي. So two things, الحرص الحسد والحرص. So الحرص الحسد is what he is infected with. He's an envious animal or living form. والحرص is what I will use to attack and get the Bani Adam. وبالحرص أصبت حاجتي من آدم. I will get what I want from Adam. أبيح لآدم الجنة كلها إلا شجرة, and so on. So anyways, this is very quickly, and I'm not going to say too much about it. It's very clear that envy is a terrible thing when we become jealous of what the others own. Someone, has a beautiful car or something that we really want, and we are envious of that worldly possession, and we don't realize that Allah is the one who gives everyone whatever they need and they should have. Then it's a terrible thing to have in the heart. والوسيلة الثانية, and the second disease, or the second means for shaitan to penetrate the heart, الشهوة والغضب. الشهوة is, and then he repeats this word الشهوة several times as if there are offshoots of this means. الشهوة is the desire. والغضب is to be angry, the anger. فإنهما, it's also one of the greatest means of the shaitan. So that if the person can be in control of himself, can make decisions, we've all experienced this. We can be oppressed, we can be wronged, and anything that will incite anger in our hearts. But we're in control. As long as we're in control, things will work out. But as soon as you lose control, which means that you become angry and you start doing things that are terrible, you start hurting others, and that's when shaitan takes control of you. وعن بعض الأنبياء أنه قال لإبليس, and he mentions here a story, and some of these stories are from al-Isra'iliyat or from the Bible. That's okay. And the Prophet tells us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وحدث عن بني إسرائيل ولا حرج, and you may quote the stories from Bani Israel, like from the Torah and the Bible, without any problems, no issues with that. حدث عن بني إسرائيل ولا حرج. But the scholars have given us the conditions for doing so. Ibn Hajar quotes Imam Malik, in fact, and he gives us the conditions. The conditions are so as long as it does not contradict anything in our Sharia. And the scholars have used it to find lessons. There are lessons in the Bible, beautiful stories that tells us, that explain why certain things exist and so on. And many later students of knowledge have become very defensive about al-Isra'iliyat and have mentioned that these books are polluted and so on, and it's not true. And the reason why these early scholars used al-Isra'iliyat is because they were speaking and interacting with scholars like themselves. They were not worried. But the students of knowledge, of course, today they say people who read these books don't understand. And so we have to be careful and so on. So we're doing it, and here the Imam al-Dhammar, who is quoting who is using and summarizing in the book of Ihya Ulumuddin, is quoting some stories from Al-Isra'iliyat. And on the same topic, sometimes we go through some ahadith which are da'if, which are weak. We're not in trouble when these ahadith are not very weak, because we can use them. Scholars have agreed upon using the weak ahadith if it has to do with fada'il al-a'mal, with things that have to do with the beautiful deeds, like the adhkar. The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do this and that, then you can do it. Anyways, that's another topic altogether. Here he mentions the story of one of the prophets who has asked Iblis himself, what is the thing that you use to overcome Bani Adam? He says, I overcome him when he is angry and when he is seduced, or when he is at the face of temptation. Okay, so ash-shahwa is not just a desire but temptation. So I take advantage of him when he is in the face of temptation and when he is angry. وَظَهَرَ إِبْلِيسُ لِرَاهِبٍ. And there's another story. This time Iblis manifests himself. Assalamu alaikum ya Abdul Rahman. Assalamu alaikum Abdul Rahman. So this time Iblis, in this story, Iblis manifests himself to a priest, and he tells him which of his attributes or characters, which of the characters of Bani Adam is useful to you, that helps you overcome him. And he says al-hidda. Al-hidda here is, I don't know if we are going to use it again. Al-hidda is reacting very quickly. Okay, I think the best word in English is to be reactive. So instead of being, one has to be, you have to plan and to think.
Impulsive also.
Yeah, impulsive. That's a good word. So you should not be impulsive. I tell you a word, something which you don't like, and you respond right away. You don't take any time to think it over, or maybe give me, the benefit of the doubt, or maybe, I can change my mind, or maybe anything, or maybe it's not what you think altogether. So you have to be impulsive. So he says that this priest faced Iblis, and then he asked him the question, which of the attributes or akhlaq does it will help you against Bani Adam? He told him impulse. الحدة إن العبد إذا كان حديدا قلبناه كما تقلب الصبيان الكرة. Even in those days, in the 8th century, they used to play soccer, the football. So how they play with football, just pushing the ball left and right. So he says, when the slave servant of Allah, والعبد, the slave servant, when he is impulsive, we play with him like a child plays with a ball. And then he told him, كيف تقلب ابن آدم؟ قال إذا رضي جئت حتى أكون في قلبه وإذا غضب جئت حتى أكون على رأسه. And how تقلب, and the interesting thing about the word al-qalb, in Arabic al-qalb means to change, to spill over, and then you split from one state to the other. Sometimes we're angry, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're impulsive, so al-qalb is like this. And the worst qalb is when you're between faith and doubt, or faith and hypocrisy. So these are the most dangerous forms of qalb. So he says, so how do you, he says, كيف تقلب ابن آدم? So how do you do that? He says, so how could you make that heart flip? كيف تقلب? He says, إذا رضي جئت حتى أكون في قلبي. When he's cool, I come to him and I try to enter from that. When he's pleased with everything. When he's angry, جئت حتى أكون على رأسي. I come right here, in front of, above his head. So I make sure that he's impulsive. So this is part of the idea of being impulsive and reactive. So even when he's happy, for instance, radiya, so he goes and he tempts him with different things that we like. والوسيلة الثالثة, and then the third thing, it's already 23 minutes. We can take a lot of time on this, because it's easy to expand on these different points. And the third means for shaitan to penetrate the heart is حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ وَالزِّينَةِ فِي الدُّنْيَا, is the love of these desires and the beauties of this world. And we have to be careful here, because sometimes we say, but that means you have to be poor, and you have to, you should not possess any riches and beautiful things. Islam does not do that. Islam does not recommend us to be deprived from the things that are beautiful. Does not deprive us, does not tell us not to be rich. But here, we're talking about the love of clothing, the love of the furniture, the love of owning houses and buildings, the love of having cars and marakib. Because when shaitan sees your attachment and your obsession with these worldly things, then he, like they say in Arabic, bada fihi wa farkh. When the chicken starts to have eggs, it's easy. You make it very easy for the chicken to. You can interrupt and say the right expressions if you want. So فلا يزال يدعوه إلى عمارة الدنيا, and this is a way for him to invite Bani Adam to use that desire to fill this dunya, عمارة الدنيا. So you're not thinking about عمارة الآخرة. عمارة is to think about building your future. You're only thinking about building your current condition of this world. You're thinking about buying that house in on the seashore of Los Angeles. Does it have any seashore there? You want these beautiful things. You want these beautiful cars. You want this beautiful everything, and you have these plans, these projects, which is all about this world. ويدعوه إلى التزين بالأثواب النفيسة. And you see this, wallahi, we're all on social media, to one level or the other, and I've seen, and I don't want to even backbite about, so I won't mention the name of the star. He is the son of a big star, and this young star, I think he was also in the movie. He looks very innocent. He's beautiful, he's thin, but he starts to become polluted. His heart becomes, and the last time I saw him on a picture, he was wearing the silliest thing. It doesn't make sense what he was wearing. Big shoulders with wings, and then his stomach was naked. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You could really see that shaitan has been playing with him, and his heart. Yeah, we can talk about that for forever, because a lot of these people are looking for the truth, and at the end they come back to Islam. A lot of these stars, alhamdulillah, they find their way to Islam. May Allah guide them and guide us. Ameen. ويستسخره طول عمره فإذا أوقعه فيها فقد استغنى عن معاودته فإن بعض ذلك يجر إلى بعض. So all these things are just pulling things to the other, one thing to the other. And then if he really is attached, and his heart is attached to these forms of pleasures, then it becomes very unlikely that there is a husn al-khatima. And I remember a very scary story of a very rich man in the Middle East, who was one of the richest people of the last century, and he was so rich and he loved money so much that he never gave zakah. Finally, he was in his deathbed, like a day or half a day before he passed away, and the man came to him. Listen, this is time to make tawbah. Listen, this is how much money you have. Listen, let's pay zakah for what you have. At least you die with paying your zakah. He says, fine, show me how much I have to pay. So he made the calculations and he gave him the number, and he looked at the number and he's in deathbed. He says, no, keep it in the bank. Can you imagine? He says, no, that's too much money. Don't give it to zakah, keep it in the bank. And he's dying. He's not even going to take that money with him. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So this is the love of this dunya, a'udhu billah, the love of these beautiful things can lead us to the danger of su'il khatima wa na'udhu billahi minha. So we've done about 28 minutes, and I'll stop here and I'll go to, like last time. What we did last time is we skipped and we went to I think we spoke about I don't recall, but I think we spoke about al-bukhl wal-khawf al-faqr. I'm not sure which. We'll go over it again if we don't remember. Anyways, so today what I want to do, like at the end of these wasa'il, these means of penetration to the heart, what he's telling us, just to make a little bit of a change here. So this is at-taqrir al-awwal. So he's giving us a study. He starts with the means of the shaitan to penetrate our heart, and he gives us a study which is the means, so we understand the causes of these problems, how the shaitan take over our heart. And then he calls the second part at-taqrir al-thani, the second study, the second way of analyzing the means to fight these attacks from the shaitan. And he calls it at-taqrir al-thani في بيان العلاج في دفعها وإزالتها. What do we do to cure this and to push and to remove these penetrative actions from shaitan? And he tells us, know full well that the cure to remove this must be, and he gives us, it looks like there's three things here. It starts with إنما يكون بالدعاء. It must be with a dua. So look at that. It starts, everything that we have or that we need starts with going back to Allah. لا ملجأ ولا منجأ إلا إلى الله. There is no escape except to return as a refuge from Allah to Allah. لا منجأ ولا منجأ إلا إلى الله. So we have to take refuge in Allah, in making dua. وَتَحْصِيلُ الْأَلْطَافِ الْخَفِيَّةِ. And when we make this dua, there are some mysterious things that happen, some beautiful things that we don't see. خَفِيَّة, in distancing a shaitan and removing him from your life and removing him from your thoughts and in anywhere he happens to be. And then he quotes a story here. وعن عبد الرحمن بن أبي ليلى كان الشيطان. Interesting. This hadith is in the Muwatta, so it is Sahih. He says that Shaitan used to come to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in his hand is like a light or a fire, or maybe it's a candle. Wallahu alam. شعلة نار, or a torch, and he comes in front of the Shaitan sallallahu alaihi in front of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وهو يصلي, and as he is praying, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Shaitan comes in front of him. Okay, either he passes through or he stays right there, and the Prophet says, "A'udhu billah min ash-shaytan ar-rajim." So he says, وَكَانَ وَيَتَعَوَّذُ فَلَا يَذْهَبْ, and Shaitan does not go away. So Jibreel comes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he teaches him a beautiful dua, which we should really have. I'll send it to you bi'idhnillah ta'ala in the small group. He says, قُلْ لَهُ, tell him, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِكَلِمَاتِ اللَّهِ التَّامَّاتِ الَّتِي لَا يُجَاوِزُهُنَّ بِرٌّ وَلَا فَاجِرٌ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا يَلِجُ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَمَا يَخْرُجُ مِنْهَا وَمَا يَنزِلُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَمَا يَرْجُ فِيهَا وَمِنْ شَرِّ فِتَنِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ وَطَوَارِقِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ إِلَّا طَارِقًا يَطْرُقُ بِخَيْرٍ يَا رَحْمَنُ فَطُفِيَتْ شَعْلَتَهُ وَخَرَّ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ. When he made this dua, when Jibreel taught him this to say, and the Prophet made this dua, this light, this torch, which disturbed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he's not disturbed, he's teaching us what to do. This light switched off, turned off, and the shaitan fell on his face. Boof, he died. Allahu alam, it doesn't say died, but he fell right on his face. Another story as well, الحسن البصري قد نبئت أن جبريل أتى الرسول. He tells the story. This hadith أخرجه ابن أبي الدنيا. It's narrated by a tabi'i, so it is mursal. Doesn't say which companion narrated it to him, but the meaning is the same as the one before. So there's like I don't know the takhrij anyways. فقال إن عفريت من الجن. This is beautiful. So this is very powerful because it teaches us what to do. It has to become part of our lifestyle. So we don't just do أذكار الصباح والمساء, the things to recite, and we should have a litany to say. If you want something and let me know, I'll share with you a litany for the morning and the evening, after Fajr and after Asr, some say after Maghrib. And if you're going to do it right after Fajr, you could do it before Dhuhr in the morning. There's a litany to be made in the morning. أذكار الصباح والمساء. So it's not just الباقيات الصالحات, which is the أذكار to make after Salah, like Ayatul Kursi and Tasbih and Tahmid and so on. And it's not just the things that you say for the occasions, like you enter the house, you start driving and so on. But, so this is one of them. The occasions, when you go to sleep at night, it says here, that shaitan, عفريت من الجن, so this is one of the afarit, he comes to you to disturb you. فَإِذَا أَوَيْتَ إِلَى فِرَاشِكَ. So when you go to your bed, read Ayatul Kursi. I'll just add something else here. That when you go to your bed, try to wipe your bed before. This is the sunnah as well. To wipe your bed 3 times like this. And I'll tell you a story that happened to me one time, and it's from like the intelligence and the brightness of Sheikh Abdullah al-Haddad, may Allah protect him. I had nightmares for several days. Terrible nightmares. I won't say the details, but it's like if someone had made sihr on me. Like, wow, this is terrible, and I wake up totally startled. So I called Sheikh Abdullah al-Haddad and tell him this. He very relaxed, and he said, listen, before you go to bed, make sure you do this, wipe off your bed and then go to bed. Wallahi, the dreams have gone. So the shaitan can be there waiting for you. So it's the same here. So there is a shaitan, ifrit, to disturb you. He says, so when you go to bed, اقرأ آية الكرسي. Read آية الكرسي. Not only آية الكرسي, but for you, let's start with this. But for me anyway, there are certain things that you should do. This is like your winding time. You go back to bed at night and you start with آية الكرسي. You do, get into the habit of doing a certain regular litany of your for going to bed. Another situation here where the Prophet ﷺ was faced with, this is in Ihya Ulumuddin, number 3. This is in Bukhari and Musnad Imam Ahmad. When Shaitan came to, I think he was also praying in this situation, and Shaitan came by. So he held Shaitan by his halaq. Like he may have had like a ring. So he held him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would see the unseen. He would be sitting with his companion. He would see the angels. He would see if there are shayateen. He would see them. So he was there, and this ifrit came to disturb him. So he held this Shaitan, and he said, ثم نازعني فأخذت بحلقه والذي بعثني بالحق. By Allah, I did not let him go until he started to breathe hard. Interesting. So he is made out of fire, but he breathes, and his breath has a breath. Okay, until his breath, he felt his breath on his hand, and if it wasn't for the dua of Sulaiman, the companions would have seen him in the morning, because I would not have let him go. I caught him, and I was going to let him expose him to the companions and tell him this is what he does. Subhanallah. So he says, if it wasn't for the dua of Jibreel, of Sulaiman alayhi salam, because Sulaiman prayed to Allah to give him the kingdom that has not been given to anyone before him. So he has the power to order the clouds and the jinns, and to talk to them and to see them and so on. He says, if it wasn't for that dua, the companions would have seen him in the morning. It's probably just 2 minutes left. If we're off, we're off, and then we can come back just to say salam to each other, inshallah. So so what did we say? We said that at-taqrir al-thani, the second way, the second study here is to understand how to fight shaitan. So we're speaking about dua, and the second thing that we should use as a tool and as a powerful tool is إزالة هذه الصفات المذمومة من القلوب. We have spoken about these, 10 muhlikats or 40 muhlikats, to understand them and to try to remove them from our hearts, as simple as that. And if we وقلعها منها فإن الشيطان مثل الكلب. This shaitan is like the dog. When he sees something and he wants it, he just jumps on it. So when he sees you, your weakness, he can't hold himself back. When he sees you, he just wants to come and bite you and eat you. So he wants to take advantage of you. When he sees that open opportunity, that heart, that window, he just jumps on you. فإذا كان الإنسان متصفا بهذه الصفات الذميمة, so if that person has those problematic attributes and characters like anger and envy and hirs and so on, صلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد. We'll stop here. Inshallah, we'll continue next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.